Hello and welcome to the deep dive. It's so good to have you join us today for a new fresh conversation, a new fresh preaching series that we get to discuss and unpack together. And we're joined by the usual crew. My name is Phil, and this is Tiandros and Timna, and we're all on team here at Revive Church. And the deep dive is something that we do together. It's a conversation that we like to have based on the sermons that are being preached in our church at Revive Church, and the heart for this conversation has really just come from a place of sermons can be inspirational and helpful on a Sunday, but it can be incredibly difficult to remember. And the things that have been helpful and the things that even stood out to us on a Sunday, it can be hard to hold on to those things and apply them to our weeks and to our lives. So in the deep dive, we like to just have conversations about it, things that sparked interest in us, things that really stood out, and hopefully these can spark thoughts for you to help make the Word of God applicable and helpful in daily lives. Guys, we started a brand new series this Sunday. How are you feeling about it?
Sure. It was really in season. I think now that we've just started with our Year to Serve program, we've got work and we're very young in that sense. So it's a great time to start building on good foundations with money. I think it was really cool to have this kind of series. I don't think we've talked about money in quite a while in church, and it is an unusual topic for a lot of people. Like church, money sounds like tithing and all that stuff, but it's not. It's actually wisdom, finance, all that. So yeah,
very good,
very cool.
And Timmy, for you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like Tian said, I'm very grateful that we keep going into this next chapter of our lives. We are going to be looking more at finances and how to manage that stuff. It's cool to learn more about this so we can develop good habits from the start. Because you hear so many people's stories about how they struggle with finances and they wish they'd put things in place earlier. So yeah, I hope it will build good foundations, like you said.
No, I'm sure it will. And for those joining us, our church, Revive Church, has started a brand new series. We're working through a video series actually done by Carey Nieuwhof at Connexus Church. And the name of the series is it's Why Should Money...
Why should money
No, it's not a question.
Timmy confused us.
Money shouldn't make you miserable.
Money shouldn't make you miserable. I just blame Timna for the confusion there. Money should not make you miserable. And really what we've been trying to do over this past Sunday and over the next 2 Sundays is have some conversations about finance. And we're going to talk about some things that maybe stood out to us. And I think I'll start. And really just the big thing that stood out to me from the message was that our finance and money is something that we are speaking about a lot. And I think I agree with you, Tian. I don't think we're speaking about it that much in church, but it almost begs the question, why? We speak about so much in church about our lives and the way we'd like to live and honoring God with our lives. Money is such a big part of our lives and a big part of conversations outside of church. It begs the question, why not in church when we're with people that care about us and with people that are wanting the best for us and we're trying to grow and mature in our faith? Why is money not a part of that conversation? I thought that was an intriguing question. And then the second really big standout for me was just a matter of trust. So Carey used that incredible analogy of, why don't you take your wallet out and to your neighbor or to the person behind you, give them your card and also give them your PIN details. And obviously, people were in that moment a bit surprised and a bit shocked because the people next to us or behind us, do we trust them with our bank card and with our PIN details and with our money? And I thought that was a great analogy that paints a picture of, finances, and our finances are a big matter of trust. But when we aren't able to have these conversations in the context of church or even associate finance and money with our faith, it then slightly becomes maybe even a trust issue that we might have with God and his ability to be someone that can help us steward our finances or to steward our finances with God in a partnership. Do we trust him with the money that we have? And then this opens up even more conversations on stewardship. Yeah. How did we get this money? How did we get into this position? Was it not God who opened the doors? Was it not God who got us into the position that we're in and blessed us with the family and the finances? So for me, it was a very intriguing message, and it was great to just have some thoughts around this sparked again. And I don't want to be somebody that can trust God with so many different aspects of life, but when it comes to my finances, I feel like that's all on me, and that's all on my ability to provide or to make wise choices, whereas God is saying, you know what, include me in this process. and honor me with it, because there's so much more potential for our finances. So those were just big standouts for me. I don't know if for you guys, obviously, you're in a different stage and season of life to maybe some of the people in our church. You're kind of new into money and earning, and Tian, you've been out of school for a little bit longer, and Timmy, you've recently left school, but starting to earn money, and even just how you want to handle your finances going forward. What were some of the things, some of the standouts from this message? Tian, maybe I'll start with you, that you thought,
Sure.
this is helpful.
Yeah, I think firstly starting it off with obviously trust in Jesus. I mean, you even asked that question, very shocking question of, if you don't trust like the Lord with your money, do you even trust Him at all? Which is obviously a big reflection question to carry throughout our lives. And I think for me to start with that it begins with trust. That no matter how much, it made me think of like it takes a great amount of humility and self-sacrifice in a sense to be completely accepting of how much the Lord wants you to give and to receive in your life. Like the inflow and the outflow there is an amount that He's determined is, some of us are called to be very generous with our giving, in finances and others, and in many ways. Some of us might have to provide more for family, and some just to build up wealth for the church or whatever it might be. But I think like each of us has we all have to be surrendered to God in that sense, and trusting in Him that how much we receive and how much we give is all in His plan. So it's it was a big thought to me. It makes you think. Money is spiritual. It's not
Definitely.
just this thing that we think, oh, is it good, is it evil, blah blah. It's actually the idea that it points to our hearts. And if our hearts start with trust in God, then no matter what situation, no matter how little you have or how much you have, you are completely subject to Him, to His will, and that's really important. So yeah, sure.
That's incredible. Timmy, for you?
I just really like the whole picture of that guy in the story with Jesus, like breaking the gaze, and how it's very easy in that time to like feel uncomfortable and then like give into that discomfort and like turn away from Jesus and not keep looking at Him. I just felt encouraged to not to allow the discomfort to get between you and Jesus, but use it to a way to like grow closer to Jesus in a way, and to exercise your trust in Him more. And also something that sparked a thought on that point as well. What's the pastor's name that was preaching?
Carey.
He mentioned a point that he said, we break the gaze because we think we can do it better on our own. And that just sparked a thought like, we think, well, for me at least, looking at the Bible stories, you don't think finances works the same way these days as it did when Jesus was around. So you think like, yeah, Jesus knows how to handle finances then, but does He really understand like how it works now? But then it's just coming back to the point like, well, obviously He does. Like he knows everything. He understands everything beyond our comprehension. And like the world might tell me that it's like a worldly thing. It's like well, which it is in a sense, but that it's like something only the brightest of like financial minds can understand. But just going back to the fact that God is even brighter, He created those minds that understand finances and managing money and stuff like that. So.
Excellent. The title of this sermon series is quite an interesting one. Money doesn't need to make you miserable. Maybe I can ask a question just on that title. Why do you think Carey's chosen a title like that? Why do you think money can be a source of misery for people in this life?
Sure. I think two things come to mind is sacrifice, so being generous with money sometimes, or even just making purchases, I know there's always that feeling like, now I feel like I've just lost everything that I was earning, this month or whatever. When you have to make big purchases or policies, things that are
things you have to do.
You have to do. You can't avoid that, and they suck to do. Literally, and you become miserable. The other big one is obviously debt. People fall into debt from bad decisions, from life being unpredictable, not having enough margin, and it's just really that kind of way that you feel so trapped. I mean, I've seen that in a lot of people. Obviously myself, I haven't experienced it yet, but and by God's grace I won't, but that way that you can that money can start making you feel very trapped in a very broad sense. It starts to bleed into your relationships, and so I think it carries a lot of weight, if we're not careful with how we steward it, actually.
Sure. Good. And tell me, why do you think?
I think like we're in a world today where like consumerism is a big thing, and we're conditioned to like always want more, not
want the next best thing.
Yes, and it's kind of like that idea where we all have a void to fill, and that void only Jesus can fill. But the world today that we live in today is like trying to tell us that you can fill it with other things, but to get these other things, or like whatever it is, like clothes, friends, food, whatever it is, series, you need money to get all those things. So but then when you get to that point where you realize, okay, that filled me up for like a second, but it doesn't like fully nourish me and satisfy me. Then you realize like money can't buy your happiness and your satisfaction.
That's good.
Jeez. But I think I actually spoke about this in my matric last year on LO, like it was all about consumerism. So I feel like that's like the world we live in today. That's what we're being taught, that
we're conditioned to believe that. And I think it's so hard, because we do have this pressure to go for the next best thing and to build our life in a way where it looks like the real deal, and that we've done well, and we go to the right schools and buy the right houses and drive the right cars. But I fear then the risk is that this materialism that we face, I feel like we start placing our sense of happiness or joy or even security in possessions and in things that we have or can accrue over time. But I think we all know that life, and Tiandra's mentioned it there, life is so unpredictable. And I recall the story of the wise and the foolish man. One built his house on the rock, one built his house on the sand. And then when the rains and the winds come, not if, because we always know that, life is unpredictable. When they come, it was the house built on the rock that stood strong, and the house built on the sand fell away. And I feel like materialism is very much this sandy building, because for a season the house stands. When it's dry and there's no rain and there's no wind, the house stands. So the car that we've always wanted, or the things that just get all of our energy and input, but it's really when life can get difficult, it's a test of what have you built with and what have you built on. And that's why I feel these conversations, although they might be uncomfortable sometimes, are so important, because it is a revealer of what we're building on. And we cannot put materialism or the things we can accrue in life on the throne that only God is able to sit on, because those things will let us down. They will disappoint us. Maybe not right now, maybe not in the next 2 years, but a time is coming when they will. And then we would be so grateful for conversations like this, so that we can ask ourselves the question, man, am I living for things? Am I living for the things that I can buy and earn, and this is why I work hard, so we can live here and we can do this? Or am I living a life that honors God? Am I living a life that builds on the solid foundation that God gives me? And let my life reflect that, rather. But that's challenging.
And it's exhausting too, like always having to like work for the next thing, and
isn't it?
You try and like measure up to a certain standard, or like just like you always, because it's not sustainable. You always have to be like working towards the next thing. But with God, it's so different. It's like you don't have to do anything. You just come and sit and trust. But I feel like in hindsight, it is easier to just trust God and not do it. But because like we've formed those habits, and we've got those like we've been conditioned in a sense to keep going for the next thing. It's difficult to break those, and then just sit at the feet of Jesus. But when you can get to that place, or when you to just sit at the feet of Jesus and trust him and ask him to lead you and guide you through every part of your life, including your finances, then you feel that peace and that rest and that clarity, even though it might not be clear in the moment, but that clarity that just the Spirit gives you, that's very, very nice.
But there is a tension, because we're not trying to teach and say that money isn't important.
Yeah.
Or that I think when understood well, I think money could be a great asset to a believer, or to somebody that's wanting to honor God, to be blessed, or to be able to be a blessing to other people, to be generous with your finances. So that's why, even on the other end, we're not saying that money is evil. We're saying that I think the improper love or attitude towards money could take you to a very unhealthy, a very toxic place that leads you further away from God. But if we can have conversations in church, and healthy conversations with the end goal of being, listen, I want to honor God with the opportunities and the things that he's given me, then money can not be something that we view negatively, but it's like, how can I leverage this thing? How can I leverage finance in order to love God with my heart, mind, and soul, and to love people, to be a blessing to other people? And I think that could be a great goal that we could aim for over these 3 weeks, is to be like, listen, we're not villainizing anything. I don't think God doesn't want us to have nice things, or to the fruits of working hard, going on a nice holiday, having a nice vehicle, but it's all about attitude, and it is all about trust. And it's like, if my trust is in this thing, it's like, geez, you're on thin ice. It's like, no, let's enjoy the fruit of our labor, but can we understand what is our true source? Yeah, Tianus, I don't know what you think about that.
Jeez, no, that's definitely all I can say. So I agree with that. I think we need to really be constantly checking our hearts, and also asking God to check our hearts. At that verse of search my heart. Search my heart, O God, and reveal things that offend you. I say that a lot because it's something that I know that I need to reflect on more often, and actually give God time to point out things like that. Because how many times in my life I've told myself, I want to be a generous guy, I want to have more money so that I can be generous. But then when I receive like a good amount of money or something like that from I don't know, family or whatever, and I just like save it, or I use it for myself over a long period of time, and then but I'm always thinking, it's when I have money, it's when then I'll be like this. But no, you have to start with what you're given, because it's a heart thing. It's not like something that you force yourself into. It needs to become a part of the way that you feel and think. So I think generosity is a big part of that as well.
I thought a very interesting practical point that he closed with was having some accountability in this area.
Sure.
So almost as you are going on the journey of putting budgets together, there might be people watching that have very, very much have a budget in place for their family and how they handle their expenses and the things that they like to do. I think it's great to include somebody in that process, which again is uncomfortable. It's not something that we talk about. It's not something that we do very often. But to have somebody involved in that process that can do the journey with you and can help you in the areas where things can maybe get tightened, or maybe where things can be done a little bit differently, to include somebody in on the journey. How do you guys feel? Would you guys be comfortable doing that? I don't know if you guys have budgets in place for yourselves, or it could be a smaller budget, or things that you like to do. But what would your first response be to be like somebody who obviously you love and care about and trust, but to include them in on that journey? I mean, I don't know about you.
Well, first of all, I really like the practicality about that point, because it's hard, but we can do it. Like you can choose someone and you can share that with them. But I think that is very important, because, or something I heard in the message that's put on the YouTube channel that Sven's doing about balance. He said that like when we do keep it to ourselves, when we do keep things secret and private, it gives like the enemy a playground to like lie and like play with your thoughts. And then that I feel like that's where a lot of the pressure and fear in financial situations can come in. But when you bring its problems or struggles or thoughts, or just what your financial situation is, into the light, it makes space for God to heal and to bless and and I think that's like by telling somebody about having an accountability partner in that space is a kind of a way that you can bring it into the light and allow God, especially someone who's also who also knows God, who can, if things get tough, if you need advice, they can offer you prayer, they can give you guidance that God can, that through from God and from the Word, and what's the best way to handle those situations are. And yeah, I think that is a good habit to start now.
I think that's powerful. I love what you said there in terms of, I think there might even be people watching that their finances aren't in a good place right now, but you can almost grow like maybe a bit shameful or embarrassed about it so that you don't seek help. And I love one of the lines that Carey shared, similar to what you said. Privacy is not the same as secrecy.
Sure.
So it's, am I private, or am I quite like, is there a lot of secrecy in my finances? Then he ends up by saying secrecy is deadly. So I think there's a difference there, and I don't think we want to have secrets when it comes to our finances. And again, it's not something that we're going to post on social media. Hey, this is my budget, because that's not wise. But is there a person or a couple that you trust and loves you and values you and wants the best for you, that you can bring along the journey, that can help? Because maybe things are so bad that you can't see a way out, but I'm sure with the right help and people that care about you, they can do that. And I thought, geez, that's a great practical point that somebody can walk away from this first message with. It's just, okay, my finances are the way they are. Maybe it's great, maybe it's not so great, maybe it's average. Is there an external set of eyes, someone that can help bring wisdom and guidance from a godly perspective that can begin to shape and help us move in the right direction?
Good, sure.
And it always helps, like in situations in general, having an outside perspective, because I always find like I can identify things like with, if someone comes to me with like a problem or so, it's easy to like see where it's maybe coming in, but then when you're faced with like the same problem, you're like, what do I do? But so it's just having that outside perspective helps, because it's not always easy to see what's in front of you when it's got to do with you.
You've been in a situation for long enough, it can be very difficult to see the way out.
Sure.
Excellent. Well, this has been such a cool chat. Thank you so much, guys. I'm excited for the rest of the series, and I think even just from here, I feel like there's more to take away from this first message and something practical to hold on to. So we encourage you to go and check out the message that we watched in church. What we have published on our YouTube is a finance series that we did as a church 5 years ago, which is incredibly helpful. But if you'd like to watch the message from Sunday that is done by Carey Nieuwhof, their church is called Connexus Church, and that is also available on YouTube. We'll drop the link in the comment section below here to both of those messages, but we had a discussion about the Carey message that's being done in church. We hope this has been incredibly helpful to you and has sparked some thoughts and ideas, and your finances can be something that doesn't have to be kept a secret, but we can begin to involve people and help us take steps towards honoring God. God bless you. We will see you soon. Cheers.